The following is a presentation of TFNN. Time to talk about your health. Living a primal lifestyle.
You know, we have Tom from Tampa on the phone. Hey, Tom. Good morning. It's bright and early now, huh?
Hey, Paige. Good. How you guys doing, Nico?
Doing great.
Good. Hey, your newsletter's outstanding, man. I'm telling you, man, it is outstanding. And so is the Primal Edge. I love that stuff. I'd never be without it. I mean, I've been on it now 3-4 months, man. I mean, it's just, I can't get over how good I feel.
Primal Edge is, people are raving about it. People who are trying it, they know because you can feel it.
Would not be without it.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044. Now your hosts, Nico Haan and Paige Clarke.
Well, hello there, world, and welcome to Living a Primal Lifestyle, where we explore a return to a more balanced, natural, and wild world.
And we do this to recover our natural health and regain our rights and our freedoms. I'm Nico Haan. This is Paige Clarke.
That's right. And it's actually a beautiful morning here. What's the temp?
79 degrees.
Oh, we've been there and holding for a while.
Yeah, it's that pattern, but
we hope it's beautiful where you are.
Yeah, we're going to have a little storm coming through, maybe. I think in the next day or so, we're going to find out if this tropical inversion or whatever, invest, they call it, which means investigation, I guess.
Yes.
All these cute little terms. But if it looks like it's going to be a tropical storm, looks like it's heading right for Florida and probably cross over into the Gulf and probably give us a lot of rain, which we really don't need, but we can survive here.
Kind of cools it off.
Yeah, it cools it off, which is really nice. And I always was excited with storms. I remember my dad and I, he would, lightning storm, let's go to the front porch and sit. And we'd watch it all, and you could feel the electricity in the air, and you could smell the ozone.
Well,
those are really good
think about it.
memories
Storms are actually really a sign that the Earth is getting her electrical charge, just like we need it, and producing a good oxygenated, rich environment, just like we need. So it's all good. So if you have any questions or things you want to talk about on the show, you can contact me at TFNN.com, or Paige at TFNN.com.
And Nico at TFNN.com, and we're taking your phone calls at 877-927-6648. So last night, when I was in the sauna, I was listening to Nora Gagatas.
And we love Nora. Yes, we've had her on the show.
And I like her because she is one of those people who have lived in the wild.
Well, she wrote her fabulous book, if you haven't read it, Primal Body, Primal Mind. It's just a must-read. And she really, approached it with a research mind, and I love her work.
Yes, and this article, which was the topic of her talk, was, is there one universally fundamental human diet? And, of course, these days we're really talking about more diversity in everything, and we often talk about if you're eating plants or eating animals. It doesn't really matter as long as it comes from a good source.
Yeah, we can kind of continue that conversation as we've been having this polarity and that, or this acceptance that it's okay.
Right.
It might work for you. It might work for everyone else.
Yeah, if it works for you, it's probably healthy for you, and that may not be the case. And Nora really goes deeply into it.
She says too many of us think or have bought into that saying everybody's different, as if there's some deep rationale for that. So therefore, being vegetarian may work for you, and being a carnivore may work for Nico. And Nora's argument is that's just really a cop-out, and it's not true.
Yeah.
That actually, we really need to look at, although we all have different fingerprints, we all have fingers. And there are some physiological rules, so to speak, for dietary adherence that gives us our optimal health.
That is for sure.
And she says, Nico, this is something, we seem to rationalize it, right? Yeah,
because we say if you do it in moderation, it's going to be all right.
Right.
And we have in the paleo community that Cordain came up with this 15-85 rule. Some people 20-80 rule, where if you do 80% of the time, you do it right, and the 20% is not going to hurt you too much. And I've often said that too. And it kind of makes sense. But what we are doing really is getting away from what our body is optimally made to run on, and that our body is basically, every human being on Earth has hydrochloric acid for a base in their body for digestive purposes.
Right.
And that always indicates animal food. We don't have the capacity to really ferment our food, such as the ruminants do, the animals that eat the grasses.
Well, Nora says there is not a lot of wiggle room here. We all share a hydrochloric acid-based digestive tract that makes use of this animal foods. It's not a fermentation-based digestive tract designed to make optimal use of plant foods. We can eat them and benefit from them as omnivores, but they cannot supply any of us with everything we need to be optimally healthy on our own.
Yeah, there isn't a different digestive design between any person and another.
Yeah, so my design is the same as your design.
That's right, and everybody on Earth is pretty much the same, even though different cultures eat different things. To be optimally healthy, we have to eat a animal food-based diet. It has
we
to
all
be a
have
healthy
this
animal food-based diet.
Right, and our primary digestive juices there for digestion are the hydrochloric acid and the pepsin, which is really not talked about as much, but is what
Right.
the hydrochloric acid actually allows pepsinogen
Right.
to be converted
Right,
and is necessary to make it into pepsin.
right.
Yeah.
So that is, and a lot of people were surprised. This was at the latest Euporium for the Ancestral Foundation.
Yes.
And I think she shocked a lot of people with this because the tendency is always go towards the middle, not only in politics, but also in the food that we're talking about. And we often say that, if you're a vegetarian and you're doing well, you're probably doing the right thing. Well, that may not be the case. And I kind of, every time I am very strict with what I'm eating. In other words, I'm eating more animal food. I'm certainly eating plant food, but I eat the plant food last, and I eat it, usually I eat it raw in salad form. So if I eat vegetables, I usually cook them. And if I eat other things that are much harder to digest, I make sure they're fermented first, like pickles and things like that. So when I pay really attention to that, I always feel the best, and there's a lot of less gas in me. I'm not burping, I'm not
Right.
Doing those things. So it's, it really does make sense to me. And I know when you and I talked privately about this, and you said, well, I've been really strict these 2 weeks. Look at me, I feel so good. I mean, it really does translate, and it translates very quickly. Remember, in the last show, we were talking about this family in Sweden that just in a couple of days saw a difference in the blood work, not just how they felt.
Yeah, how they felt, but they also had that assurance that things were actually much better by looking at their blood work, and that's great. So, we can say, okay, so, we all have the same digestive tract, we all have the same organs, we all have a blood pH that ranges very narrowly between 7.35 and 7.45. If not,
narrow.
You're going to die.
Right.
So, and the body is an alchemical genius and figures out how to keep that balance, hopefully.
We all require the same ranges of macronutrients. We all need a complete source of protein. We all need a significant amount and variety of dietary quality fats, the animal source fats.
Critical animal source fats.
Fat-soluble nutrients and certain essential fatty acids that simply cannot be gotten from plant-based foods in order for us to be optimally healthy.
And she's not saying that we should not eat plants.
No.
Not at all. Far from it. But the fact is there's no human alive for which carbohydrates are dietarily foundationally essential. Therefore, there can be no such thing as sugar or starch deficiency in anyone.
Now, I like the way she puts that. There is no way that we can be deficient in a carbohydrate. It's important stuff to know.
So we'll get back and dive a little bit dive a little deeper into Norca Gatiss' article.
Stick around, folks.
Stay with us.
You know what's cool? Taking something that's good for you. Something specifically formulated to help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Nico, our hunter and gatherer ancestors found all their nutritional requirements for health in their wild environment. But today, our food sources no longer contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients our bodies need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, soil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty, and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated fulvic and humic acids, nature's preferred delivery system. They have been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, life cannot exist without them.
That's right, Paige. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every morning.
Primal Edge, formulated and approved by Nico and Paige of Living a Primal Lifestyle. Buy it today for just $89. Click on the Primal Edge banner on the front page of TFNN.com. Platinum, grains, crude oil, gold, copper, cattle, hogs, gasoline, natural gas, coffee, cotton, cocoa, and sugar. These are just some of the commodities mentioned in the most recent issue of Andy Hecht's Techno-Mental Commodity Report. Andy publishes his weekly newsletter every Thursday morning, where he breaks down the commodity market and provides his subscribers with specific trading recommendations based on his trading methodology. By signing up for a free trial to the Techno-Mental Commodity Report, you'll get a full 30 days to try out this powerful newsletter service and see for yourself the types of trades Andy has recommended for his subscribers. When you sign up for a 30-day free trial, you're under no obligation to pay anything. And should you decide to continue, you will lock in the low rate of only $79 a month. Sign up right now for the Techno-Mental Commodity Report and make sure you're ready to catch the next big trade in commodities. For more information and to get started today, visit the front page of TFNN.com.
Are China A-shares hot or not? If you trade China A-shares, now may be time to take a closer look. Trade CHAU or CHAD, Directions Daily CSI 300 China A-share Bull and Bear ETFs. China A-shares in either direction. Visit directioninvestments.com today. An investor should consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the Direction shares carefully before investing. The prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction shares. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus, please contact Direction shares at 866-476-7523. The prospectus or summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
Nico and Paige take your phone calls now. Toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044.
And welcome back, and we're deconstructing an article here, Is There One Universal Foundational Human Diet, by Nora Gagatis, who we really follow a lot, and she really, in her book, Primal Body, Primal Mind, made the final conviction for me. I was convinced at that time that fat is the key to everything for me.
Yes, and I think her work is fantastic, and I hope we can have her on the show again. And a lot of what we were covering was information that has been delivered by the brilliant minds that have been part of the Ancestral Health Symposium. And I can't tell you, if you have an opportunity to go to their link and possibly get the recordings. I know one year we ordered them and there were some audio quality. Remember when that last year?
Yeah.
But so hopefully they'll be great. I'll certainly
the ones I've listened to are really good. And the two takeaways that she has from this talk is the most important key to optimal health is what makes us human in the first place lies not in our individual differences, but in what we have in common.
Right.
And the second one is the biochemical individually supplies the nuance, but it is our common physiological design that supplies our most essential foundations. And we are all humans, and we share this.
Yeah.
And that's really important to remember, that we have that acid base, that hydrochloric acid base, and that base tells us what we need to eat, because we're not designed like the animals that eat grasses. Right. And remember, we really don't eat animals that eat anything but grass.
And, I see this in some of the people that I coach, many people that do go towards vegetarian or vegan diet, and they're not getting that proper mix of macronutrients that Nora referred to, many times are suffering low stomach gas, and as a result not able to cleave key fat-soluble nutrients from their foods, and that worries me.
Very, very important, because what we're talking about is that this may be optimal for us, but maybe because of the way you've been eating for the last 20 or 30 years, or maybe because of what your mother ate for the last 20 or 30 years, you don't have the hydrochloric acid base. I mean, it's diminished. It's not
that's
responsible.
No doubt. We learned that from Pottinger's cats experiments.
Right.
That 3 to 4 generations, with cats. So humans. So we'll have to take a look. I love that infographic that shows the primal man and has evolved to kind of what I believe was the optimal health.
Right.
They enjoyed chronic free free of chronic disease, and then modern man turning around and saying, hey, we're doing something wrong, let's go back.
Yeah, and the first person who really recognized this was Weston A. Price.
Oh, absolutely.
And,
that's why he's my hero.
Yeah, and he, if you really dig into what he was doing, he really wanted to get to the answer of this. What are people eating that are still primitive? And he was really looking for the vegetarian thing, and he found that...
He was surprised to find out that it was,
And they all shared this common wisdom of eating the protein from the animals, which has the fat, and not large proteins. Interesting, in her talk, she was mentioning that the Inuit people... And there's a big paradox there because, of course, they've been infiltrated with modern food.
Right.
Even on a small basis, it's disastrous to them. But what happens is they actually eat more protein when there is no vegetables, and the protein breaks down in the liver and supplies the needed glycogen.
There you go. Well, protein, that's a key point.
The glucose, I should say.
Yeah, that is one of the concerns, too. Many people will eat too much protein. And that's why we want to look at the healthy fats, the animal and the fat, but the protein can end up causing elevated glucose levels.
Exactly.
And I like to draw a visual that you see many, let's say, bodybuilders that are eating every hour a 20-gram protein bar,
Right.
50-gram protein bar, or taking 100 grams, or eating a 20-ounce steak at Ruth
Right.
Chris. Over time, people that continue that type of protein, I see that barrel belly look.
Yeah.
They maybe are not as defined. You see football players eating a lot of stuff
Yeah.
that later, I'm just saying when they change things or after a period of time, many times it doesn't reflect as
Well, isn't
positively
it
on the
interesting
body.
that overeating carbs raises your blood sugar, but now overeating protein can do the same thing?
And fat's neutral.
Yeah. So what happens is, to the Inuit people, of course, there are no carbohydrates in the wintertime for maybe 8 to 10 months.
Right.
So they have this switch that takes place, and that's the interesting part. So now they're overeating protein because you can't overeat fat. You can only overeat carbohydrates or protein. You can't overeat fat. Your body says, no, I've had enough.
Yeah, you do.
So
you
it's
get
self-regulated, folks. There's no way you can get fat from fat. Unless it's really bad fat,
Well,
I guess you could.
I think that I want to question that a little bit, because I think people, unless they've become dual fuel burners, the ability to burn the fat. Some people that I'm working with, when they're trying to move more towards a traditional ancestral paleo primal diet, will get so excited and they start adding all this fat to their diets. And some people will adjust to it, and other people may find that they stall or even gain some weight. They're all of a sudden increasing these fats, but they're still accidentally eating a pancake, or they're eating too many fruits and berries.
And the fat goes in with the carbohydrates.
And then or they're combining the fat and the carbohydrates, and then all of a sudden they're wondering,
what's wrong here?
So I like to see a seesaw effect where you eliminate, don't dilly-dally with it, eliminate the inflammatory offending foods, and then as you lower those sugars, increase the fat. So that I do think that there are still some macronutrient concepts such as total macros that may impact you.
Well, certainly the vegetables these days, I think, give us the nutrients that may be lost in some of the proteins, animal foods.
But we talked about it a little bit. You and I, what I like is they may be extracting the minerals from the food. We can make most of our vitamins, other than our fat-soluble vitamins. So we can make most of the vitamins that we actually get from our foods.
Except for the fat-soluble ones.
Except for the fat-soluble ones.
Isn't it interesting? And that's what we've been taking away for the last 50 years. And we wonder why the population is sick.
But we can't make minerals. That's why it's so important. And yet we're eating vegetables that come from demineralized soil. Our animals are able to convert the plants and make those fat-soluble nutrients and stuff that we can get. So we have to really,
So I think when you're eating your greens, look for those rich colors in greens. I bought some lettuce the other day, and half of it was white.
Yeah.
I'm throwing out that white stuff, and I'm trying to get the
The power of
green.
pigment. My Qigong teacher, Jeff Primack, as I've told you, I just love Jeff's work, and he's really focusing on, when we look at our fruits and vegetables, it's not just the A to Z minerals and vitamins, it's the hundreds of phytochemicals that we have yet to identify. Still, many of the phytochemical nutrients locked in the cellulose fiber, which, by the way, we don't have the digestive enzymes to get. That's why actually maybe eating fruits and vegetables in a blender is kind of like mimicking the action that an animal takes by digesting it for us. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's...
And when we talk to Ben Greenfield, this is what he's talking about, that he does a lot of his vegetables in not a juicer, but in a blender.
No, in the blend tech.
Yeah.
That's really the whole food-based healing that I've studied with Jeff and Supreme Science Qigong. So you're getting the power of these fruits and vegetables, but you're getting them in a supremely masticated form, the way that an animal with a 2 to 3 digestive area fermentation tank would do. So we have to realize this, but again, what I love about fruits and vegetables is I see them as another delivery system for light, because color is light. And guess what? We are electric light beings, electric light orchestra. That's what we are. So
when we come back, I want to deconstruct another one, 20 Things We Don't Know About Paleo, which was by Chris Kresser,
one of my other favorite mentors.
I think we need to discuss this because this is really what we're talking about in the first and second segment of the show. So.
I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what a paleo diet was, which was actually a very alkaline diet. A lot of my vegan, vegetarian people point to that. So let's talk about it and let's really identify this and stop compartmentalizing, but just broaden our understanding.
We'll be right back, folks.
You've heard Nico de Haan as co-host of Living a Primal Lifestyle, which airs every Friday at noon Eastern Time on TFNN, and would like to tell you about the personal training studio that Nico is the owner and president of, Performance Training. Since 1998, Nico has trained individuals and groups to improve their health both mentally and physically. As a certified personal trainer, Nico's main focus is on demonstrating exercises correctly to avoid injury and teaching his clients how to manage their past injuries while getting the most out of their personal training sessions. The Performance Training Studio is filled with unique training equipment that enhances balanced results at a faster rate while minimizing damage and discomfort. For more information, you can give Nico a call at 727-418-8740 or email him at nico@tfnn.com. Let him know you heard him on TFNN and save up to $100 on a special package just for TFNN listeners. Act today.
Tiger TV is an exciting way to experience TFNN programming. See high-definition video, giving you crystal clear charts, as well as seeing some of the faces of TFNN's highly acclaimed financial experts with crisp, full-fidelity sound. Catch Tom O'Brien, John Logan, Steve Rhodes, Basil Chapman, Larry Pesavento, Think or Swim, David White, Andy Hecht, and Daryl Martin in crystal clear, high-definition audio and video. Tiger TV, exclusively at TFNN.com.
Has the current market volatility continued to stop you out of trades when the market spikes against you? Now is the perfect time to open up an account with Nadex. Nadex, the North American Derivatives Exchange, is a brand new, completely regulated Chicago-based exchange, and unlike most other exchanges, Nadex allows you to trade directly through them with direct market access when using their completely free trading platform, which also features real-time charts and full customization capability. One of the advantages of trading with Nadex in volatile markets is that your risk is always capped and you have the ability of keeping your trades open even when the market spikes against you. Nadex is completely brand new with a line of unique trading products that are unavailable anywhere else. See how it works at nadex.com. That's NADEX.com. Or click on the Nadex banner on the front page of TFNN.com. Futures and options trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for all investors.
Many of our new listeners have heard about the Tiger's Den, but wondered, what exactly is it? The Tiger's Den is a lively community where professional traders and investors can meet, exchange ideas and information in a comfortable, moderated atmosphere. Hear all of your favorite TFNN shows, plus see all the charts as they happen live during those shows and have access to all those charts. You can test drive the Tiger's Den absolutely free for 30 days. It will greatly enrich your knowledge of these markets. Details on the Tiger's Den are on the front page of TFNN.com. This segment is brought to you by Think or Swim. For more information, just click the Think or Swim banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
Okay, Okay, so let's discuss 20 things you probably didn't know about paleo.
Yeah,
this is with Chris Kresser.
Yeah, let me read the opening statement. Paleo has received a lot of attention in the media over the last couple of years, some of it positive and some of it negative. And there are a lot of misconceptions about paleo approach to nutrition and lifestyle means for most people. With this in mind, here are 20 things I think everybody should know about paleo. So let's deconstruct each one. Number one being follow a paleo diet or lifestyle is not about reenacting the exact diet or lifestyle of our ancestors.
Yeah, it's really about embracing the principles of the diet and lifestyle, and it, as a stark contrast to the modern context that we have today, eating around the clock, processed food like Frankenstein-type foods.
Well, of course,
not honoring the cycles of the day and the seasons,
Yeah,
and a lot of this is going
that's the huge
on.
part. And,
erratic sleeping.
yeah. And we're not able to even come close because we don't have the wild animals anymore. If you lived in Montana and you're, shooting things on the range, maybe you could come close to it. But these days, as Paige often says, the soil isn't there.
Yeah.
So even the animals aren't the same, even the wild ones, and now we're eating mostly domesticated. So domesticated means that we get domesticated, and we know from research that we definitely were healthier as a primitive man before agriculture.
Yes, what
And
we know is there was virtually no existing chronic disease in our ancestors prior to agriculture.
Yeah.
And with agriculture brought on both societal breakdowns as well.
Yeah, remember agriculture means the domestication of plants and the domestication of animals. One of the things that...
Taking the wild out of both.
That's right. And a wild animal has a certain thing in it, the correct nutrients that has the spirit of the animal in it. Our native Indians
they sure
here knew that and talked about this. This was involved in their whole culture, that they needed these wild animals to subsist.
From what I understand, when the settlers came in, the Indians just couldn't believe that they would eat these cows. They'd say, look at these cows. They looked at the spirit of the cow. And, I love that example. The cow is a perfect example of an estrogen-dominant, hormone imbalanced animal.
Yeah.
It's been domesticated. The wild has been, they hunted the buffalo.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, their whole, the Plains Indians, their whole lifestyle was around the buffalo. And when they got the horseback from the white man is when they really, really were a lot better at hunting the buffalo. I mean, it was very difficult and very stealthy to, just think about it. No horses, no way to chase these buffalo. You have to really crawl up on them. And they were very rare animals. I mean, as a pack or as a herd, they're always watching out for their, the wolves and, of course, man.
So
Number two.
Here it is. Most hunter-gatherers did not eat a low-carb diet. I like sharing this. You and I did a talk a couple years ago at the food patch, and what the research shows is that the paleo diet was more considered to be an alkaline diet.
Yeah, it's more 30-40% of their total calories probably came from carbohydrates. And this depends, of course, where they
foraged, greens primarily, I would say. And so they ate a tremendous amount of greens because that's what was around. That's what they could easily pick and grab. Those were more easily found. And we saw that the potassium ratio was actually rather high. Remember we did that talk?
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting that he shared that.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, of course, the mainstay of any primitive culture is the animal protein. The vegetables are the secondary part. But they're very, very important, and probably more important to us today than anything.
Hey, here's a good explanation. We talk about all these dietary categorizations. A very low-carb diet or ketogenic diet and paleo diets are not the same thing. And although we are now seeing that there are people getting tremendous benefits from the very low carb and the ketogenic, that's something we're exploring and we're paying attention to. But what happened is people moved from, say, the Atkins diet, where he was on to the right track of getting to using fat as fuel and protein, but he kind of didn't look at the quality of it at that time.
And he was doing mainly cancer research, so he was trying to starve the cancer, and he knew that he had to take the glucose out of it.
And ketogenic is definitely heading in that direction. But as a result, the low-carb ideology got mixed together with paleo, and as I just spoke, I explained that the paleo diet is actually a little bit of an alkaline diet, and with more vegetation. And again, animal foods that eat their own foods are more alkaline neutral. They're not as acidic as, say, a grain.
Yeah, and that comes to mind, so that protein isn't that heavy either. We're talking about probably 25% protein. If you're an Inuit, maybe it goes up to 35 during the winter to get that extra glycogen from the protein. But basically, it's what we consider these days, it is low carb. 35% is low carb for
compared
carbohydrates, compared to 60 or 70% that we're eating.
And folks, let's clarify, we're reviewing the work and the comments of Chris Kresser. We may agree with these, we may not. But the key thing is we want to make sure we're understanding some of this.
So number 4.
This is number 4 kind of explains Chris's approach, which is, he calls it a paleo palette or a paleo template. That there are, his saying, kind of opposite of what Nora says, is that there's a little bit of individuality. Some things work for people, some things don't. Some people have a higher resistance for being able to enjoy dairy and may actually thrive on it if it's the right kinds of dairy.
Yeah. Well, the thing that Nora says, too, this is the optimal diet. In other words, this is where we want to get there. Remember, our Inuit, or just our native peoples, had lots of things going on in their environment. You got volcanoes going, you have to move, earthquakes, storms, all your wild plants get washed away. Maybe there's no animals coming into your area. So they weren't always optimal. We're just discussing what is optimal.
Right, and Chris, he and Nora would probably duke it out a little bit. They were at the Ancestral Health Symposium together. He says there is no single approach that works for everyone. Nora would probably say, hey, Chris.
Well, I think, again, if you've been compromised for the last 30 years, you can't get that optimalness because you just don't have the tools.
Well, I have to believe that the ancestral diet of someone living in the Philippines
it's going to be different.
Is be different than a Nordic person.
Sure, but both of them are probably on a fat-burning diet, a ketogenic type diet, even though that paleo may not always be ketogenic. The native people were always on a ketogenic diet.
Let's agree with this. They were all real foods, and they didn't include the foods that we can get down at our quick stops.
Right.
Okay, and based on their environment and the nature and the seasonality of where they live, these foods could be changed. Number 6, the food emphasized in the paleo diets are loaded with nutrients our bodies need, and we constantly share that there are critical, particularly fat-soluble nutrients that we just don't get. And the most nutrient-dense foods you can eat are actually organ meats. That is something that I think just has been bred out of our society, or now it's making a comeback. But, let's say in the 50s and 60s, nobody was really eating the organ meats.
No, and we're not eating the marrow. And now we're starting to see restaurants offer marrow, which is really cool. But yes, that is the thing about this, is that our food has changed, and I'm sure our ancestors' food has changed too, but they pretty much stuck to wild things, and that is a big difference than domestic things.
That's the key thing. The foods that are emphasized on the paleo or ancestral diet are nutrient-dense real foods.
Yeah.
That we all actually need.
The foods emphasized on it, are the ones you really need.
And so really, it's another point, and we're going to take a short break, but vibrant health is your birthright, and chronic disease is not inevitable. We have come to believe that succumbing to chronic disease is our birthright and our destiny, and it's not. We can reverse this. They're preventable, and they're reversible, and we're going to teach you some more things when we get back.
We'll be right back, folks. You know what's cool? Taking something that's good for you. Something specifically formulated to help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Nico, our hunter and gatherer ancestors found all their nutritional requirements for health in their wild environment. But today, our food sources no longer contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients our bodies need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, soil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty, and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated fulvic and humic acids, nature's preferred delivery system. They have been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, life cannot exist without them.
That's right, Paige. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every morning.
Primal Edge, formulated and approved by Nico and Paige of Living a Primal Lifestyle. Buy it today for just $89. Click on the Primal Edge banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
Tom O'Brien's weekly gold letter, The Gold Report, gives complete and concise coverage of the entire gold market. Inside, you'll get Tom's commentary on gold, the dollar, the rand, the bond, the XAU, the HUI, and detailed coverage of nearly 25 mining stocks. He'll give you the entry price, price target, and stop price of each stock trade. The Gold Report is a long-term newsletter where the focus is on building real wealth through the management of a successful portfolio of gold stocks. With a lifetime of knowledge and almost 12 years of writing his informative weekly newsletter, The Gold Report, Tom O'Brien can provide you with the important market information to help you make better trades in the gold market. Don't let the next bull run in gold pass you by. To get a month-long free trial to The Gold Report, an $85 value, visit the front page of TFNN.com today.
David White's newsletter, The Technology Insider, is focused like a laser on finding the next big things in technology. If you had invested only $10,000 in Microsoft in 1986, you'd have been a millionaire by 2000. Disruptive technology like Microsoft's is the key to these massive long-term profits, and the Tech Insider is the vehicle from TFNN to capitalize on these opportunities. This is the go-to newsletter that identifies, monitors, and profits on mostly little-known cutting-edge companies with great long-term prospects. David's experience is as an inventor of Emmy-winning animation products for TV and Hollywood that propelled a company public. Match that with 14 years as a full-time trader, and he's uniquely qualified to guide you through the light-speed world of ever-evolving high-tech. If you're ready to ride the next big technology bull market for less than $40 per month, log on to TFNN.com and get your 2-week free trial to the Technology Insider. Get in on the ground floor of the next big thing today.
This segment is brought to you by TFNN. Test drive all the newsletters for free at TFNN.com.
All right, so welcome back. Let's talk about this one, because this is a complete opposite comment from what Nora said, but you don't have to be 100% compliant to benefit from a paleo diet, but she made a great point.
This distinction is benefit. You can definitely benefit if you go down that road. It may not be optimal. Maybe you're doing the 60-80 thing. Or that wouldn't work, 60-80, be 20-80. But if you're doing that, you know, you're going to get better, but we're talking optimal.
Well, Nora's saying to be optimal, you would follow the foods that are optimal for our genetic expression.
For the human beings.
And so here we go, you know, so Chris has a little more wiggle room. He makes a comment here, sugar, number 9, isn't toxic. You actually, in one of our talks, create a list of the toxic foods, and sugar is right on the top of the list. But here's a great point that, you know, counterpoint, that Chris says sugar is neither a toxic nor a replacement for real food. And ultimately, small amounts of sugar could sneak into your diet, and as long as you're having a whole food, nutrient-dense, paleo-style diet, as long as you recognize it for what it is, a treat. And so we can listen to that and respect that point of view, because
and that's really the modern way, too. We consider these things like a Dunkin' Donut as a treat when it's a poison. So I think it would be better, and we don't always do this, I certainly don't, would be better to reframe ourselves and say, okay, what is a paleo treat? And a paleo treat may be something completely different. Just
what would be our ancestors' treat? It might be stumbling on a raspberry bush,
and there's only the vegetables.
And there's only 4 raspberries because the squirrels got them. Yeah, lucky squirrels.
Yeah, I think fruits and vegetables are the treats myself.
Yeah. Right, exactly. And I think that's really what it was. I mean, and the honey, like you mentioned, you know, they might all of a sudden see a big beehive, you know, where there was honey being that was a scary thing probably to have to get a hold of.
It was a major thing for them because they had to figure out how to take the bees and make them docile, which is fire, and they knew this. But they also had to, if it was hornets and stuff, they had to get them away from there. I mean, you don't mess with hornets, that's for sure. Okay, number 10, you may not instantly feel better when starting paleo. Well, that's for sure true.
And that was a little bit of what I discussed, where I see a lot of people who jump in, they're very excited, and they start making their, you know, Tiger Brew or Bulletproof style coffee, and they're adding a lot of fats, but they're still having their starches in their potatoes, and they don't see it. They're enjoying the additional food, but they're not seeing the results.
Well, they
haven't allowed
may see some initial, all of a sudden you're energetic and stuff, but then all of a sudden, a few days later, they may get those blues from not having those carbs.
Yeah, they've been addicted to those sugars, and they are addictive.
And they're not yet burning fat, so you get the blues, you don't have enough energy because the fat's not going in there to be energy, and the carbohydrates are too low.
And this is my favorite one, number 11. The paleo palate is not just about weight loss, and it does do a good job of that, but it can also prevent and reverse the chronic disease. Folks, weight, obesity, and chronic disease are peas in a pod.
Yeah.
They kind of fight, it is obesity, the disease, now that they've now categorized it as disease, that ultimately is involved in all of the chronic diseases we're seeing.
Well, I often say that in a primal situation is what you're doing is normalizing your body. So it goes back to where it is optimal. And the more you get into that, the more that happens. And it takes a while. So it may take a couple of weeks for somebody healthy, and it takes longer, 3 months, 6 months, maybe a year. In fact, we talked about that athletes who want to perform at a real high level on a ketogenic diet need a year as a base.
Right. Again, it's like trying to take your gasoline car and all of a sudden start putting diesel in it. You're going to need a conversion. You're going to need a conversion piece of equipment or something.
Well, it's a learning curve. There's a whole bunch of things. It's kind of like when we watch these gymnastics. You want to get on that little 4-inch beam, and you can get on it, and maybe you can balance yourself, but you're not going to be able to do the tricks that the gymnast does because they've been conditioned for a long time.
So it's conditioning. I like it. How about this one? Number 12, full-fat dairy products can be a healthy addition for some people on a paleo diet.
No doubt about it.
And I like seeing this. I think that raw dairies or fermented dairies that come from cows that eat rapidly growing grass can be in the category of superfood.
Yeah, especially if it's in your heritage. I'm Dutch.
I'm Irish.
Yeah, I have Gouda cheese all the time. I come home and I don't want to eat anything. I might want a little snack, and I go for the Gouda cheese. I'll go for a little protein shake or something like that.
Well, the Gouda cheese, as we've talked about on the show, is probably one of the best ways to get vitamin K2, which is the vitamin that Weston Price called the intrinsic factor, the factor that the healthiest people in the world had. And what it means is that it's a vitamin that comes from animals that eat rapidly growing grass. So that's good news.
Yep.
So you can give that a try, but remember that when you eat full fat or raw or unpasteurized and non-homogenized, you're eating it in the form that your body is designed to digest it.
Number 13 is red meat is one of the healthiest, most nutritionally dense foods you can eat, and that is for sure.
Yeah, it's a shame that we have conventional wisdom today blaming red meat for everything from heart disease to cancer.
Yeah.
Again, what we like to say is it's not the foods, but it's what we do to the foods. And if you're still buying and sourcing your red meats from conventionally raised, confined animal feeding lots, you are not getting the red meat that our ancestors had with the nutritional
We're not getting the red meat that our ancestors had, period, but we're getting closer to it when the animal at least is eating its own food.
And
maybe it's
diet.
not wild and, free. And they're in jail, sort of, and no matter how big the jail is, it's still a jail. So I always tell people, well, if it's not that bad, why don't you sit in a cell for a few months and see how it feels?
Oh, yeah, exactly. So what that does to the spirit. And like
exactly.
We said, our
it just changes you completely.
Ancestors knew a lot about that.
Yep.
Number 14, high cholesterol is not the primary cause of heart disease.
Huge one. Very
I
true.
think this is heavily researched and has been debunked, and yet people still are on Facebook and stuff saying, oh, get rid of the damaging saturated fat and so forth. Again, that's just not the case. That's not been, for decades we've been told that it's bad, but it's actually the sugars that cause the inflammation.
Number 15 is many of the packaged paleo-friendly foods are full of modern additives, and some of them are still not so friendly to your health. Yeah, any packaged food, whether it says paleo on it, doesn't make any difference. I see a lot of companies having these candy bars.
They're capitalizing on the movement, and they're trying to bring in, convenience foods, but folks, convenience and
I think they do
real food
more
are not the same.
damage in a way, because then you're thinking that snacking is normal.
Right.
And these are all snack foods when you talk about a package because you want to take it with you. There are certain snacks like the pemmican, that is the fat-soluble...
Pemmican.
Pemmican, excuse me.
Right, right. Which that was actually a food created that the Indians created.
Yeah, mostly fat, a little protein in there, and a little bit of...
fruit, like cranberry or something.
Exactly. It works great. I have some at home. I am always eating that stuff. Number 16, eating a paleo-style diet doesn't have to be expensive, and that's for sure.
When you eliminate packaged, processed, boxed, and bagged foods, you actually end up saving a lot of money. When you eat foods that satisfy you, such that have good, healthy, fat, nutrient-dense components, you're not going to be snacking and you're going to save money.
No, because you're going to be satisfied, and the snacking will slowly leave you. Remember, most snacking is a reflex action, so you've got it in there no matter what you're eating.
Well, those exorphins that are in grains and even processed dairy and so forth, they are designed to have you start craving them.
Folks, I'd like to remind you to pick up some Primal Edge,
Good
our
stuff.
daily supplement, and also our newsletter, which is packed with things that you need to investigate for yourself so you can buy into what it actually is healthy for you. Working on the marijuana one. It'll be out week after next, and I've got a lot of good things in there already. So
Be right back.
Stick around, folks.
Hi, I'm Steve Rhodes, host of the Trader's Edge, heard daily at TFNN.com and author of Mastering Probability, a daily investment and trading newsletter service that I send out each morning by 8 a.m. My morning newsletter service covers exactly what the markets have been doing since last night's close, providing you with an edge on your trading day ahead. You get actionable trading ideas, including the exact entry, stop, and profit targets. Plus, I'll teach you the patterns and hidden market correlations that will make you a better trader. As a subscriber, you'll gain access to my 90-minute money management workshop, where I'll teach you the secrets that'll save your assets. The bottom line, I've got your back, including a 30-day money-back guarantee. See for yourself the type of analysis I provide each trading day by signing up for Mastering Probability today. With nothing to lose, this is an offer you should not pass on. Mastering Probability can be found under Trading Newsletters on the front page of TFNN.com.
If you're an active trader looking for that extra edge when it comes to trading and investments, then now is a great time to get a 2-week free trial to Tom O'Brien's daily market letter, Market Insights. Tom O'Brien's daily newsletter, Market Insights, comes out every market day at around 9:30 a.m. and provides Tom's daily commentary on the broad market, including the Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P, plus specific trade recommendations. There's even an update published most afternoons to keep you informed about the day's market activity. He'll give you the entry price, price target, and stop price of each stock and option trade. With Market Insights, there's nothing left to guessing. For all the details and to get your 2-week free trial to Market Insights started today, visit TFNN.com.
No matter where you're listening to TFNN programming, you can always access your favorite shows on demand through TFNN.com. TFNN airs live programming every market day from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. Eastern, and you can view each program by accessing Tiger TV through our homepage. We even have an easy link for all mobile devices, including iPhones, iPads, and Android devices, located in the top right-hand corner of the TFNN homepage. You can use your smartphone to view Tiger TV. But if you don't have a connection that can keep up with streaming live video, then you can simply visit TFNN.mobi in the browser of your smartphone for live streaming audio of all our programs. The mission of TFNN is to educate our audience directly and interactively through our interactive website and call-in talk shows. TFNN is able to teach all levels of investors the technical skills needed to trade in today's marketplace. In order to get the best information possible, TFNN has assembled the most respected financial minds in the country to provide the most current news and comprehensive advice available. TFNN.com, educating investors. Join John Logan as he teaches you trading techniques utilizing the TAS Profile Scanner. The Global Market Pulse, next on TFNN.
And welcome back, folks. So we're on number 17 is legumes are more paleo-friendly than you think, and there's a lot of information about this, that our ancient ancestors did use beans and legumes and things like that, because we still have the tradition, of course, with lentils to soak them and beans to soak them. And the reason we soak them is to get all those gases out of there.
The phytic acids and the lectins. And, that was interesting, because I told you, Carolyn of Carolyn's Kitchen, who's been a guest on the show,
right.
She was talking about William Davis, a lot of thought leaders in the real food movement, which is what I call the ancestral food movement. The real whole food diet that the human diet is supposed to be. She was actually saying that there's a lot of talk about the legumes and properly fermenting them, and that for people that maybe have been on a primal ancestral diet, still having some digestive issues there might be in fermented legumes and beans and properly soaked and sprouted, that there's a fiber or a starch or so forth that actually helps to encourage a species in the gut that might bring about that balance. So that's interesting to see. And I'm sure we're going to talk more about that. And it's not just about food. Number 18, the paleo living palate or ancestral living is a lifestyle. It's going back, perhaps less is more, less stress, less toxic foods, more sleep, and more physical activity,
less
more
stress.
play.
That's the big thing right there, because we're really forced into a working relationship with our society. We have to go to work, we have to go to school. Of course, primitive man worked. His working was building shelters and having fun and getting food. That's pretty much it. So we're in a different world, for sure, and we have to kind of deconstruct this for ourselves. What am I going to do? How much work is good enough for me? And if you're in a society that has a lot of poor people in it, then they're being worked harder than probably the rest of the population, and that's not healthy either.
I've seen that going through social media. We wake up in the morning to go to work so that we can make money to pay for the house that we're never in, so that we can provide things for the people we never see.
That's right.
There is sometimes we have to reevaluate things.
Yeah, well, I think in the future they'll be calling this the actual Dark Ages instead of the 700-800 model.
They may actually say, look at how these people lost sight of what was important. So, and here's a final way. Here's a couple ones. Paleo-friendly starches are not the same as industrial starches. So that's interesting. You and I were talking.
Well, potato isn't a potato. But yes, if you put it into a box, and it's going to be hugely different.
Potato is a natural, real food starch.
But you can't eat it raw, so that gives you an indication whether it's healthy or not. You have to do lots of things to a potato to make it edible.
Right.
But, if it saves your life, you're going to be eating the darn thing.
Right. So here, I'm going to go into a little more detail. What's true that highly processed and refined starches like wheat flour are harmful. He says there's no evidence that the same is true for whole food starches like potatoes, sweet potatoes, plantains, or taro root. Our ancestors actually consume these foods for millions of years, and there are many examples of cultures around the world that consume a high real food starch diet and maintain excellent health. We were talking about that on the break. Dr. Edelstein and Dr. Marshall of Premier Research is really following Dr. Edelstein's diet, which is a high starch, no processed oils, and I kind of agree with that. I think
you take the bad out, and then you're left with something that's marginally good. Is it optimal? And that's what the
so that's that's really kind of the theme today. We can all benefit from dietary changes, but maybe they're not optimal, and really gets back to the core of what Nora said. We all have fingerprints, but we all have different fingerprints, but we all have fingers. And let's talk about the things that we have in common, and let's look for the things that can optimize our genetic
And the last thing on here,
potential.
number 20, is paleo cooking can be very delicious, and I always tell people that if you want to learn to be healthy, learn to cook.
That's right. And cooking's good for you. So
that's for sure. Thanks for sticking around,
See you
folks.
next time.
Bye-bye.
Since 1984, Basil Chapman has been using the Chapman Wave methodology to advise traders of his expert market opinion. While originally hand-drawing charts from the late 1970s into the 1980s, Basil noticed that prices under most circumstances virtually always had a certain number of legs to the upside before declining sharply. Later, Basil found that computer software, which included the standard market technical indicators, enhanced the degree of accuracy in calling price turns, as well as market trend calls. Thus was born the Chapman wave sequence. Using the Chapman wave methodology along with other indicators, Basil Chapman advises his subscribers of his expert market opinion each market day with his opening call newsletter. Right now, you can get a 2-week free trial to the opening call, Basil's daily trading newsletter, by visiting the front page of TFNN.com. Cancel at any time during that trial and pay absolutely nothing. Get your 2-week free trial to Basil's newsletter, The Opening Call, today by visiting TFNN.com.
You're watching Tiger TV.